Hello, welcome to episode 114 of Freshly Grounded. This episode I am so excited about because it's with Super Saf, a guy who has over 1.3 million subscribers on YouTube. He's a tech blogger. He analyzes and compares different tech products from phones to cameras. This guy gets invited to all of the cool keynotes from Google, from Samsung, from Apple. He's traveling all of the time. We get into loads in this podcast. We speak about kind of what Saf carries around when he's traveling. He travels about 2 or 3 times a year. We discuss generally like what it's like to be a mainstream YouTuber. You know, we're able to pick the brains of someone who has a reach in the millions, you know, which is something that we're not always able to do. So it's really cool to hear from his perspective. Really cool to hear from him on like on a very informal level, just the man behind the screen, and capturing, you know, his thoughts and feelings on various things. I think he spoke about some things that he doesn't often speak about. And he has just walked into the room. Hey, Saf. So now I have to stop complimenting you too much. We speak about his relationship with Casey Neistat, which is really cool. That's at the beginning of the podcast. So very, very cool podcast, guys. Before you do go ahead and listen to it, I just want to mention our Patreon page. As you guys know, if you're a patron of Freshly Grounded, it costs around £5 a month, but you're able to get every episode for free. All episodes are free, and they're always going to be free. You're able to get every episode 1 day early. On top of that, you're able to support the podcast. It allows us to stop having to kind of search for private sponsors to keep this thing going. It allows us to be able to facilitate more episodes more often, bigger and better guests, and a bunch of other stuff. More than anything, you're able to support us at Freshly Grounded. So do head over to patreon.com/Freshly Grounded. That's patreon.com/Freshly Grounded. And we just opened up an Amazon influencer page, actually, because we're often talking about things on the podcast. Like, for example, recently we've been speaking a lot about jump roping, and everybody has been asking us where we got our original rope from, and it was just a basic one from Amazon. But what we did is we set up an Amazon influencer page, so anytime we talk about things on the podcast, we'll throw it up on that page, and if you guys buy it through that page, Amazon give the podcast a little kickback of the money. So it's going to cost the same amount of money anyway, but Amazon give us a little percentage of it so you can support the podcast in that way. So the way to access that is amazon.co.uk/shop/Freshly Grounded. I believe that's the link. And really, really cool because you guys kind of told the guys at Official Jump Rope, you guys told the Jump Rope dudes, whose Instagram is at Official Jump Rope Dudes, about the fact that we kind of were inspired a lot by them in regards to fitness through jump roping, and they sent us a DM. They messaged us and said, hey guys, really cool that you guys are supporting us. A lot of our followers, or one of our followers has mentioned that they came over to us from you, so really appreciate the love. And so that was really, really cool to hear from them, guys. So yeah, check those guys out if you haven't already. And without any further ado, guys, this is episode 114 with Super Saf.
And welcome to Freshly Grounded, the brand new podcast by best friends Faisu and Sam.
Huh?
I said welcome to Freshly Grounded,
No, after that bit.
the brand new podcast
And after that bit?
by best friends Faisu and Sam.
Really?
We're live.
Nice and quickly.
As I mentioned,
Just
thank
like
you so
that.
much for coming down, bro.
Thank you
right.
for having me, bro.
No
It's
problem.
Great
No
to be here.
stress. No stress. I watched a video of yours recently, which I was amazingly touched by, and it was your 1 million subscriber video.
All right.
And I'm sure you know why I was touched by it, and it was
Yeah.
because you were so visibly emotional during that video. And man, I respected it so much, because we live in an era, bro, where it's not easy to show you as a transparent person. And the guys who listen to Freshly Grounded will know that I always obnoxiously try and like push books that I've like recently listened to onto like all my guests. But I remember a few months back I was talking about one called Ego is the Enemy. And when I watch your videos, bro, and it's crazy because your videos are about tech, right? And so there's very little, I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's very little you can take away from your personality from the videos. But one thing that I seem to take away from your videos always is that you seem to have almost mastered this idea of destroying your ego and putting yourself forward transparently. I'm Saf, I am who I am, and you talk just as you are, and it's so great. And personally, I think that one of the reasons perhaps for your success, which by the way, Allahumma barik on all of the success that you have, could be because of the naturalness that comes across in those videos.
Thank you.
How was it like making that 1 million subscriber video, and what was it like hitting 1 million subscribers?
So yeah, I mean, alhamdulillah, hitting 1 million subscribers, like I said in the video, like it's, if you told me a few years ago, like when I was starting that, oh, you're going to be getting 1 million subscribers one day, just to think that 1 million people have like decided to want to, like, okay, I'm going to follow this guy. I like what he's doing and I want to see more. Just that thought of 1 million people, like, you know, that's more people than you'll ever meet or like, you know, see in a lifetime. Like, that's amazing. So just that feeling was just like amazing. And it's funny that you mentioned that video, because I filmed that video and I was trying to be like, you know, like you switch it on. Like my family always says that there's Saf and there's Super Saf, right? Because I kind of put on. It's like, I know you're saying like it's natural, but like, you know, there's a certain like persona. You need to put up energy, like on camera. Like you probably know this.
You could even tell from when we press live on this recording.
Yeah.
It goes from like, bro, you know.
Yeah.
Are you kind of ready to? Am I live?
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to do that because the camera. You know, they say the camera adds 10 pounds.
Right.
It takes away like a large portion of energy. So I might think that I'm like, you know, oh yeah, I'm energetic, whatever. But on camera, it's gonna seem like, oh, this guy's really boring. So what you need to do is you need to kind of like put on, you know, pump up a little bit of energy. Right, so you know, like you're having your coffee right now, so like maybe just have a coffee, come up and like you'd be, hey, what's up, guys? It's Super Saf. You know, you just gotta be a little bit more engaging, because on video you gotta remember that there's that barrier of, you know, the internet there. It's not face to face. Face to face is very different to what you're seeing online. So you need to kind of replicate that face to face experience. So you need to be a lot more energetic. And I was filming that, and I filmed almost the entire video, right? And then I just kind of sat there for a second. Again, this is something that I've never spoken about before, right? And I just kind of sat there and I was just like, and it was sinking in because I just hit 1 million. And like, you know, like it was a very emotional time for me. Like, you know, just thinking about all of the hard work, all of the sacrifices that you've made to get to that point. And then I just like, it was still rolling the camera, and I just started talking. And then I looked at the 2 takes and I was like, you know what, I have to do the one where it's just like, that was just like pure, like it was just straight from the heart, and it was a really emotional time. But like, you know, I got to come back to the point that it's so amazing to, you know, have that much support, and it's just so blessed to have that and be in a position to kind of, you know, have that reach to people all across the world. It's like, you know, I've met people from all walks of life, and it's alhamdulillah so amazing to be in that position. So yeah.
At what point do you think that it peaked, where it just started like kind of being like a snowball effect?
So the thing is, like, for me, it was never a case of like, you know, I had one viral video or something and like, it's like, okay, now this is it. Sure. No, it was a very gradual process. It was so I've been making videos for 7.5 years now. Yeah. And when I hit 1 million subscribers, I had been making videos for, I think it was around 6.5 years, right? I only quit my job like, over 2 years ago.
Yeah,
my full-time
you mentioned
job.
about just a year before you hit 1 million subscribers.
Yeah. So for me, it was a very gradual process. You know, I was making videos, the audience was growing. I was quite attached to my old job, but there's actually an interesting story that led to me quitting my job. So Casey Neistats, you must have heard of. Brilliant YouTuber, brilliant YouTuber, but an even better person.
Really,
and he's like the nicest guy that you'll ever come across. And a few years ago, I think this was like 2016 sometime, he randomly tweeted, right, saying there was a link to my video, and it was this guy makes the best camera videos on YouTube.
No,
right? Out of nowhere, right? And I'm just like,
as in like camera review videos.
Yeah, so I was doing like, you know, I do camera comparisons, which is something that I'm kind of known for, and it was just amazing. It was just like, what, like this guy who's like one of the biggest YouTubers in the world, has recognized my content and been nice enough to share that as well. Because a lot of people, they'll see something and they'll be like, oh, it's cool, but they won't like. He actually went out of his way to share that content, and then after that, he also gave me a shout out in his video, right, which was amazing, and then. From then,
was this around the time that he was doing the daily vlogs?
Yeah, around
I
that time.
probably saw the video.
Yeah.
Because when he was doing that like for a
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
he was solid.
Solid.
Oh, I
It's
wouldn't
crazy.
miss one.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, so I mean, he did that, right? And then we kind of became friends online, so we talk and stuff. And then it was 2017, I think it was around March time. He dropped me a message and he's like, Saf, like I want to put you in touch with one of my guys at Samsung. So I was like, awesome. Like, yeah, sure. And he goes, all right, this guy's behind the human flying drone. He's behind all of this stuff, right? So I'm like, cool. So then it's a guy called Paul, lovely guy, still in touch with him. Actually, was speaking to him. I was on the phone with him the other day. So he gives me a call, right? And he's like, Saf, like, we love your work. Casey's told us about you. We want you to be part of our event that's coming up, right? It's the Samsung Galaxy S8 launch. The project is called Do What You Can't, right? So it's about people telling you that you can't do something and proving them wrong, right? And he goes, we're getting a few different content creators, Casey, yourself, a few others, that really display, you know, people going against convention and going out there and doing something themselves and, you know, proving everybody else wrong. So I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. So he's like, all right, cool. Can you be in New York next week? Now, this is a Thursday. He wanted me in New York on a Monday, right?
Oh my God.
I got a full-time job, bro.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? So that month, I'd already taken time off to go to Paris and to Barcelona, right?
For the channel?
For the channel, yeah,
Right.
there was stuff going on. So then I had just moved teams. I had a new manager who didn't really get the whole social media thing. So I still remember this, and I tell everybody this story because it's got high impact. That I went over, had a meeting with my manager, and I was like, look, I've just had this amazing, huge opportunity that's come through, right? I have to go to New York. Like, can I have the time off? And he said, you can't. Right? Sorry.
Was it like a harsh that you can't?
Well, he was trying, but he was just like, look, you can't have the time off.
Fine.
And then all that was going through my head was, this project is called Do What You Can't, doing what you're told you can't do.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, this is a sign from Allah, right? This is a sign, right? I got to do it. So I handed my resignation in and I went.
Wow.
And that, you know, amazing, best experience. One of the highlights of you know, my whole entire career. It was amazing. Went there, met so many of the content creators, and it was so awesome to see all of these content creators. You know, Justine, who's a great friend,
Yeah.
Justine, who's like massive in the tech space, but is the most nicest person. Like hanging out with her, she actually came over and found me. She's like, "Oh, Saf, it's so good to see you finally."
wow.
And like we had like spoken online a few times, and it's just to see that somebody who's like at that level, but like, you know, is super down to earth.
Yeah.
Somebody like Casey, who again, like, you know, people like literally, you'll see so many Casey copycats across the internet, across the world, right? And again, so down to earth, so humble, and like that kind of changed my perspective. And I was like, okay, I've made the right decision, and didn't look back since then. And alhamdulillah, since then it's been really positive, man. So yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
that's the story.
How do you think that he deals with the copycats? Because he seems to deal with it so well. Often people say that, you know, imitation is a compliment, right?
Yeah, the greatest form of flattery.
The greatest form of flattery, and he seems to be an embodiment of that. You never see him, and he could take someone's video or take someone's success and say, well, this is quite clearly built off of my structure, my kind of quote unquote algorithm of making videos. But he never does that, and he always seems to support where he can, whoever he can, if he really likes the work. So I think you can see that he is a genuine person as well.
I think so. I mean, like with the video that with the shout out that he gave me in the video, it was a camera comparison. So I've kind of been known for, like, that's one of the formats that really kind of helped my channel grow, right? It was quite unique. Basically, in a nutshell, I had seen camera comparisons before, but they weren't really full. Like, okay, if you've got an iPhone, you've got a Samsung, you want to find out the cameras. What do you do? Like, I went out there testing everything: low light, video, audio, front-facing camera, everything, right? And I'd put them side by side to give people a better idea of what the differences are. So that was quite unique in the sense that nobody had been doing that, right? Following on from that, like, lots of people started like picking up the format, and, you know, like I said, inspiration is a beautiful thing. Copying somebody, like, where down to the thumbnail is exactly the same.
Yeah.
I've actually had to change my thumbnail because camera comparisons in YouTube would just be the exact thing that I was doing, so people couldn't tell if they were my camera comparisons or not. So I had to, like, now put my face in my camera
I
comparisons.
think that's something that's really cool about your thumbnails, by the way. I love that about your thumbnails.
Thank you. So it's just like I had to put my face in there just to kind of show that it's mine. Now with Casey, he made a video. It was a camera comparison, but it was in his own style completely. He's a very creative guy, right?
Yeah, extremely.
But he still felt the need to give me a shout out in his video. So he starts the video out and he's like, oh, this is my friend Super Saf. I'm going to copy his style today and I'm going to make this video. And I was like, whoa, like, and I looked at the video and I was like, dude, you didn't even copy me. Like, yes, you were inspired by seeing my videos and you decided to make a video of your own, but it wasn't copied in any way, right? Like, if I had seen that and he hadn't credited me for it, like the idea or anything, I wouldn't have even thought that, you know, oh, he copied me or whatever. Like, I wouldn't even, that thought wouldn't even cross my mind because it was very unique in the way he did it, right? But because he got inspiration from me, he still felt the need to, you know, go out of his way to credit me. And that's something that, you know, again, like, huge respect to Casey, one of the nicest guys in the industry, and just generally, like, in terms of a person, you know, always doing things for others. The amount of charity work he does as well is so inspirational. Like, I always see what he's doing. I'm like, I need to do more after seeing what he does. And again, like, just looking out for other creators, looking out for the community, is something that's so positive to see from somebody like that, man. It's great. Like, as I said, like, you have this certain perception of people who are, you know, have a huge following, celebrity status. You think, you know, what are they going to be like? Are they going to be down to earth? And, you know, we see lots of examples of people who are a little bit arrogant, you know, maybe like, oh yeah, I'm bigger than other people, I'm better than other people, right? And then when you actually meet people like Casey, like Justine, right, who are like so down to earth, and are nicer than most people that you meet on a general day-to-day basis, you're like, wow, it's so inspirational to see. And that's something that, you know, I'm hoping to follow as well. Like, you know,
I was going to say, so do you think that you being like, I get the same vibe from you, and I know that's something that you wouldn't want to say yourself, but that's how I feel. Do you think that comes from you being treated by those people in a certain way, and the way that makes you then feel, and you want to kind of be able to pass the baton on and give that same feeling to others?
I mean, I think that's definitely inspiring. I mean, like, honestly speaking, generally, like right now, like a few people be like, oh, whoa, like, it was funny because I was actually doing a project in Milwaukee. It was with a few different YouTubers, including Casey. So it was so cool because there's these underprivileged kids who are part of the Boys and Girls Club. What they did is they converted an abandoned shopping mall into a winter wonderland, right?
Oh, wow.
And I was seeing these kids, like, their faces, it was so amazing. Like, they were like there, they were like, oh yes, it's the best day of their lives, right? And you get to be a part of that. Amazing. But anyway, so this kid came up to me, right? And he's like, are you a YouTuber? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, how many subscribers do you have? So I'm like, does that really matter? And he goes, yeah, it does. And I'm like, okay. I think at the time I probably had like 800,000, right? So I was like, 800,000. He's like, whoa, can you sign my jacket? I just found that so hilarious that, look, this guy has no idea who I am. Clearly, he doesn't know that I'm a YouTuber. But just after finding out that I have a large following, right, which some kids, you know, would refer to as clout. I don't like that word, but it's like clout. It's like straight away that perception changed straight away, right? Now, to me, I'm just Saf, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just your local Leicester lad who grew up in Highfields, right? Okay. I don't see myself as above anybody else in any way, shape, or form, right? I'm just a regular guy, right? But seeing people like some of these other content creators who are inspirational, because, you know, I've seen my fair share. I've seen some who, you know, do kind of have a different,
I can imagine.
You know, kind of like, you can straight away get that vibe that, you know, they don't really want to like kind of conversate with regular people, sort of thing. They'll kind of want to see how many numbers or how you can benefit them, right? You do get that as well. Unfortunately, it's very minimal. Let me just make that point. It's very minimal. It's not something that you see too much. Mostly what I've seen, 90%, 99% is all being positive. But when you see people like that, it just brings you back, because you can get carried away. And I think the best thing is to surround yourself with people who keep you humble, right? Because it's very easy to get carried away. I see a lot of people who like kind of get caught up in numbers, right? What are numbers, right? Like, you know, you've got 1 million subscribers. You know, it's cool. It's a great achievement, like, in terms of, but that shouldn't make you see somebody in a different way.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, I agree with you. It's definitely something that that shows, it's a good way of measuring the hard work that you put in.
Yes.
And it is a good measure of success, and perhaps a better measure of success than than finances in some
Yes.
ways, I would say, because I think the way for a person to achieve subscribers in many ways can be a lot harder than for someone who has achieved a financial or wealth because of the hard work that goes into it. Not saying that wealth obviously doesn't have hard work
Of
going
course,
into it, but I'm
yeah.
saying there's varying ways. With YouTube, generally, with building a social clout to the point where it's in the millions, definitely seems to require a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, and something that to get that reward kind of at the end of it, it seems to make sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have a few YouTube plaques.
Yeah.
Bro, what is it like getting one of those in the post?
Yeah.
How many? You must have 3 now. Is it? Do you get 100,000, 500,000, and a million?
Oh no, you get 100,000 and you get a million.
Okay,
but I have
fine.
200,000 ones. I have the old one and the new one.
Oh,
Yeah.
they used to do 200,000 ones.
No. They've only done
Oh,
100,000, but they
100,000 ones.
yeah,
okay.
but they updated it, and I wanted consistency. I'm very much like that. I need everything to be consistent. So I was like,
So you asked them.
yeah, well, so yeah, I asked my partner manager, who's lovely at the time, it's changed, but she kind of put me in touch with the right people. I had to pay for it, but I was like, I don't care. I'll pay
Yeah.
whatever I want. I just kind of want that consistency of, both of them. When I've still not put them up on the wall yet, which is a shame, but I need to do that. But whenever I do that, I want them to be consistent. So,
Where do they live?
so currently, so my parents moved houses recently. So like my house is basically a storage space for all of their stuff, right? So I
Fine.
still, right now they're in boxes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But eventually what I want to do is once I've kind of, cleared up all the space and everything, then have them in my office to kind of inspire me all the time.
Yeah, man,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
man. It's amazing. It's amazing having those. That's one of the things. I mean, YouTube's not a perfect platform, and I always talk about this, that there's a lot that needs to improve on YouTube. Things like communication, how unpredictable it is for content creators. Like you got to think about that. You're trying to make a living on here, right? And if you don't know if a video is going to work or not tomorrow, like that's a very scary place to be in, financially, but also like, just from how long can I carry on doing this point of view. But one of the things that I do love that they do that no other social media platform does is reward their creators
Yeah, you
for
can
achieving
see-
milestones.
You can see that. You
Yeah.
can see that. There was a time, I think like last year. Perhaps it's a few years ago, but from what I can remember, it was last year. Are you cold, by the way? It's getting a
No,
bit
no.
chilly.
I'm fine. I mean,
I
if you're
wa-
cold, then you can.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it off. I think because
Yeah, go for it. That's
I'm
fine.
freezing.
That's fine. Yeah, go for it. I just come back from Qatar, so.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you like a bit of a breeze?
Well, I don't mind. I mean, it's just like down there. The thing is, it's so weird because you go outside and it's crazy hot, and then you go inside and it's super cold
Oh yeah,
because of the air
AC,
conditioning.
yeah.
So it's just one from another. But yeah,
Does that mess with your throat?
it does. I mean, like I was only there for a few days, so it didn't impact me as much because, to be honest, I was mostly inside. But like when I was inside, like I always had to have a jacket on because it was just too cold for me.
What are you doing in Qatar?
So it's actually a friend of mine, a brother who's out there, Khalifa Al Haroon. He's also a YouTuber, does videos in Arabic. So we actually met at the Google I/O event, and then we met again at the Apple event, and we got on really well. Only two that want drinking,
Yeah.
and the usual looking for halal food. So he actually has an events company. Where he kind of arranges like comedy shows and concerts and stuff like that. So he told me when we were there, he was like, Saf, like you got to come down sometime, right? And you know how you usually say, yeah, I'll come down,
Yeah.
right? And I don't like being one of those guys who just says, yes, I'll do something and not do something. It's like if I say something, I'll genuinely try my best to do it, right? So he then hit me up and he's like, Saf, we've got Trevor Noah coming down for a show, right?
Wow,
Do you wanna,
huge.
Yeah, he goes, do you want to come down? And I was like, you know what? Yes, I'm going to come down, right? Okay.
Wow.
So I went down. I was only there for a few days, but, I got to say, like, he went out of his way. He's got a few different businesses. He's a very businessman, very busy man. But he took his time out to show me around. Trevor Noah was amazing. Got to see him backstage and everything. And he really went out of his way, and I really appreciate that. Like, Qatari hospitality, man. Like
I've heard.
yeah. So he literally went out of his way to make sure that he was with me throughout, took me everywhere, even though he had like this massive event, which he actually did the introduction for, right?
Sure.
But he was still with me throughout, like
Wow.
up until the point where I had to sit down. He was with me, and he was like, "Gonna be right." Then once he came off stage, again sat with me. Obviously, he had all of his friends, his like family and stuff, but he made sure that he looked after me. And huge respects to him. Amazing guy, and had a brilliant experience, and definitely will be going back again soon. And I definitely recommend Qatar, man. It's amazing.
Yeah, I
place.
haven't been, man, but I've heard great things.
Yeah.
I think my missus went recently with her family, or was that Kuwait? I can't remember. I can see that you have both an iPhone and a Samsung phone, and
Yeah.
I need to ask you if that's because you genuinely see benefits in both, or if that's because you are Super Saf and it wouldn't be right for you to not have. Which one do you use the most? I mean, it seems like you genuinely have them both as phones that you use.
So I think there's benefits and negatives on both sides, and because of what I do, I kind of have to have a balanced view on both things. There's things that I love on the iPhone. There's things that I don't love on the iPhone. There's things that I love on Samsung or Android phones in general. There's things that I don't like there as well. For me, I always have like both an Apple device and an Android device in my pockets at all times. And that just gives me a balanced view. There's certain things that I think work better on iPhone, and that's what I'll use the iPhone for. There's certain things that I think work better on Android, and I use my Android for. So yeah, I'd like to think that I'm pretty balanced.
When you first started doing what you were doing, it couldn't have been easy, especially because you're reviewing products that are not cheap, bro. Like, one of the products is maybe let's say you're reviewing two SLR cameras, and one is like even just body only, you're looking at £800, but you have to compare it to something, so you have to grab the other one. How are you doing this when right at the beginning, when it's not as easy to A, make money from what you're doing, and B, I'm sure that now you're in some space where you're often given some products as well. So what was it like back then? How did you manage it?
So funny story, it's actually quite interesting because I couldn't afford a lot of the products that I'd be talking about. So what I would do is I would make videos still talking about the products based on my opinions when something would be announced, right?
I see.
Okay, without actually having the product in hand,
I
right?
see.
Now a lot of people got annoyed about that, but generally speaking, what I would see is I'd see the like to dislike ratio, and generally I'd always have 90% plus. So 9 out of 10 people would still enjoy the video, right? Because I'd be giving them my opinions and my knowledge based on my usage of technology and cameras that I've been doing for many years, and giving them that in a very concise format, without having tested the camera, like the phone out itself. But I wouldn't give anything conclusive. I'd be like, based on what they've announced, this is the summary of what's, because you look at a keynote, it's like an hour long at least. Some of them are even longer. People don't have that kind of time to sit down. And what I find is, especially 7.5 years ago when I started, was people would I was starting to see the trend where instead of just based on my own viewing habits and my online habits, rather than sitting through and reading 5 or 6 pages of text, they'd rather see a 5 to 6 minute video which combines everything, right? And that's what I was aiming to do. So a lot of people, I still get a few comments saying, Saf, I still remember the times when you never used to have a camera or a phone and you still used to talk about it, right? It's great to see that you've now come to a stage where you can do that. And it's like, you got to start somewhere, right? If I never had done that, I would have never been in a position where I could afford buying phones or work with brands who can then loan me devices and things like that. I would never be in that position, right? If I never had started from somewhere, right? And that starting from somewhere was me talking about things that, and giving my somewhat professional opinion on things without actually having seen them initially. So yeah, that's how I initially started. But I also, the other tactic that I always tell people as well is, I actually made a video about this, how YouTubers get free stuff, because that's something that I think is the number one question that people ask. It's like, oh, how can you afford all this tech and stuff like that? So then, some of the advice that I give people is so the first iPhone that I reviewed was the iPhone 5S, right? Okay. Now there was no chance that I could have gone out and afforded to go out and buy an iPhone, right? So what I did is my sister-in-law, it was time for her upgrade. So she was gonna upgrade to an iPhone. So then, we're pretty close. So I said, look, do you mind if I borrow the iPhone for a week? when you get it, and I'll buy you a case and a few accessories. And she was like, yeah, sure. So then
nice.
what she did is, well, my brother was paying for it, so thanks to my brother.
Yeah.
if she listens to this, then she'll subscribe me. But so what I did then is I did like a bunch of videos in that week of getting the iPhone, right? And then I was like, I bought a few accessories and things, and I gave it to her, and she was like absolutely fine with it. And she knew that I would look after it, right? And if anything was to happen to it, I would obviously make it back to her, and like you just make sure I replace the phone or whatever it was. So that's how I used to do it. A lot of the stuff, the first tablet that I reviewed was the Nexus 7. That was my brother's as well. He actually pushed me to do it. He's like, look, Saf, like nobody's done because he actually wasn't sure which tablet to buy, right? So he's like, what should I get? And I was like, the Nexus 7 is great for the price. So he's like, all right, cool, why is that? I told him all the reasons why. He goes, dude, like, why don't you make a video about this, because it could be useful to so many more people. So he ordered it, and then he let me have it for a few days. So what I did is in those few days I made a video about it, right? Okay, and gave all my opinions and everything, based again on my experience of using lots of tablets before, and those videos did really well. So that's how it kind of worked out. I think a lot of people who are thinking about like maybe starting YouTube and stuff like that, I get people asking me all the time, Saf, I want to start a YouTube channel, around technology, something else. How do I get companies to send me free stuff, right? And I'm like, that's I made a little skit about this in one of the videos, right? That's just like going into like a really well paid job, right? With no experience, nothing to show for yourself, and saying, hey, like give me a job and then I'll prove myself afterwards. It's like nobody's gonna even like you won't even get to the interview stage, right? Because you need to kind of prove your worth first, right? Then companies will like want to work with you. I mean, when I started, like people still like don't understand YouTube, right? And they still see YouTube as like cat videos and stuff like that. There's still people who think that. Back when I started, that was like that's all people thought YouTube was. So I used to reach out to so many different brands saying, hey, can I just come to your event? Can I get an invite to your event? And they just wouldn't respond, right? Even though I think the first event I went to was when I had 200,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Now brands are a lot more open. So if you've got a decent following, you've been doing some quality work, they'll be like, oh yeah, sure, you can come to our event. You can have a device on loan. And they're a little bit more open. Before it was a real struggle. So what I would say to people right now is, if you do want to kind of get into the space of tech, whatever else it is, try building something first, right? Because if you go with nothing to a brand, then obviously they get hundreds of requests every single day of people like, because they just want a phone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How are they going to take you seriously if you can prove to them that, look, hey, I've got a channel. Maybe it's a small channel. Maybe it's only got 500 subscribers, right? Yeah. But the content is there, and it's like, okay, the content's really cool, right? Okay, yeah. I want this person to cover my product. So yeah.
You mentioned keynotes when you were just talking, and I know that I think most recently I saw you. I'm sure you went to a keynote since this one, but most recently I saw you on social media at the Apple keynote.
Yeah.
And that was huge. You did a huge campaign, and you were standing next to some A-list celebrities. And I was like, what? Actually, when you first posted that picture, I thought, is that a real picture? Because the finesse that they have on their photos as well. Their photos are so good that they could look almost... like the new Lion King movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell if it's a real lion or if it's been done on a computer. It's that good. And so I was thinking, is that a real photo? And it was. And so,
it actually wasn't.
It wasn't. No, you fooled me,
man. That was good Photoshop then. Is this the one that's after the Apple event?
Yes.
With the whole thing. All right,
bro,
okay.
you fooled me. I said, how did
should we cancel this? This podcast is cancelled.
I feel so embarrassed, bro. Oh. I was really giving it large as well.
That was a bit of a joke, like, because that was the official photo, right? Of
I never saw the
cast,
official,
right?
okay.
Now the official photo, obviously, there's got like some serious A-listers, right? Like,
well, I was like, Saf's a tech blog, like 1.3 million. Like,
oh no,
it was enough. It was convincing enough to be just about like
just about
that.
So I just thought, this is gonna be really funny, right? Okay, so then I just put that on, right?
You're hilarious.
And haters will say it's Photoshop, right? And it was funny because then a few people like took it seriously, right? And I was like, okay, crap, maybe it's just a really good Photoshop, so I need to like So then I did put a comment on there to clarify that, look, just in case, this is not the real one. But I think most people did but most of my audience anyway, they know I kind of mess around like that.
How
So that's kind
embarrassing
of
is that?
that's kind of my personality. I'll have a bit of a laugh, right, and just do some random stuff like that. So
That's so funny. I was so convinced. Well,
inshallah, one day, man, I'll be there.
Inshallah, bro. I think you will. My question still remains though, because my question after that was going to be, how do you get into those keynotes? Are you now at the level where people invite you to all these keynotes? And how does that work? Does a letter come in the post with does a man come in just with his hat and suit and tie? Mr. Super Saf, there's a letter for you from Apple. And also, what do you do at these keynotes? Because I know that tech journalists are there and they're busy they're trying to write as fast as they can and a live update of what's happening so they can be the first. As a tech blogger, what's your role at these events?
So how you get invited to them is, again, it used to be very difficult before because you just wouldn't be taken seriously. I remember, trying to apply to go to a lot of these events and they'd say, you need a website with 5,000 hits a month.
Really? That's such a weird request.
And then I'd be like, my YouTube channel gets over 20,000 hits a day, right? Alhamdulillah, it's a lot more now. But back then it was I'm getting 20,000 hits a day. You want 5,000 in a month on a website. I don't have a website because I don't write. I'm not a writer, right? I'm a content creator. I make videos. And it just was because they were so backwards in terms of all they would deal with were old school journalists, right? So you work for a website. That's how you get to an event, and that's it, right? And then obviously when a lot of brands started seeing value that, okay, people are now, yes, there's still space for, traditional written journalism. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of the young audience now is now moving towards video content, right? And social media, because that's where they get their updates from. So what started happening is the more I grew, the more I started getting invited to these events, right? So whether that's, a Samsung Galaxy launch, Apple has just been very recent. So that was my first Apple event was the iPad launch in New York the end of last year. So that was actually quite big because Apple, that's one that they're very new to working with YouTubers and inviting them to events and things like that. So that was quite new. In terms of what you do at the events, so there's a range of things. So firstly, live tweeting, live blogging, right? So a lot of your audience, again, a lot of viewers don't want to sit through a very long keynote. Attention spans are very short these days, right? Yes, I mean, if you're kind of plugged in listening to a long podcast, that's fine, in commute and stuff, but actually sitting there and watching a long keynote,
You have to be very interested.
yeah. So then what I do is I kind of know what my audience wants to see. So what I'll be doing is when I'm at these events, I'll be live tweeting.
But my point is that implied or is that requested by them?
Oh no. So the thing is, generally, unless you're physically working with the brand in terms of there's money being exchanged, right? And then you have to specify that with a hashtag ad or something, right? They can't dictate what you're going to be doing.
Okay.
So you could say whatever you want,
Fine.
right? Essentially, they are just inviting you to their event. They're
Sure.
here's our event. Now it's up to you what you want to do, right? So clearly they know that if you are at an event, a big event, you are going to be tweeting. You're going to be making a video on their new products, right? You're going to be talking about it. And what you generally find is if there is an event where there's a lot of influential people, that event will straight away start trending, right? It'll start getting bigger and bigger reach and engagement, and then that's gonna lead to more people knowing about that event and learning about the new products and things like that. So having people like myself there, regardless of what we say, is still going to be positive in publicizing that event, right? So that's what they'll do. So call us over, but in no way is there going to be a specific expectation or anything like that. They could have one, but I'm free to post whatever I want, unless it's a paid engagement. So if I am being paid to be at an event, then I obviously have to be very clear about that. So any post will be, have marked as hashtag ad or whatever it is to let people know that I'm partnering with this brand. And what I'm saying is obviously working alongside that brand, as long as you're clear with that. But yeah, when it comes to general events, it's whatever you want to post.
It's so interesting getting an insight into the mind of a tech blogger because it's something that tech's something that I think as a guy growing up as a millennial,
Yeah.
you're very much interested in tech, and it's kind of like your job is almost the dream job for a lot of us. And so to see and to pick the brain of someone who is on that level on the mainstream is so interesting. I feel like I just have questions that are like firing at all cylinders for you.
That's fine.
But at what point did you, if we put tech aside and just the fact that you have a large outreach, at what points does that hit you the most? Is it when you're away in a country that's not, you know, the UK, or you're in a city that's not Leicester, and someone appreciates your work? Does it then hit you and you think, wow, like I'm actually making a difference, or I'm actually like able to, these people in the other side of the world have got me in their living room, they're listening to me before they buy a product, and they're putting a lot of trust into me and my opinions.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like just on the way here, I was in the tube, and then like these kids, bless them, they were like super nice. They were out on like a school trip sort of thing, and they kind of walked over, and I had my earphones in, so I like kind of took them out, and then one of the kids came over and was like, sir, and I'm like I was looking around like, sir, where? kind of a thing. And he's like, are you Super Saf? And I'm like, oh yeah, I am. And they were like, oh, we love your videos, this and that, right? And just getting that sort of feedback is amazing. Like, because these kids clearly did watch my videos, and they were talking about specific videos. It wasn't just a case of, I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell I'm a YouTuber or whatever it is generally.
Sure.
I think when you see that, or like when you go into a different country and you kind of see somebody like we were in Qatar, and then like we were out in the souk, and then like these guys were walking down, and they were like, oh, Super Saf, like, and they'll come over and take pictures and stuff. That kind of like really like makes you think that, wow, like it's amazing that I'm reaching people from all different ages, races, backgrounds, countries, and they're watching your content, and they've liked your content enough to not only subscribe to you but also come up to you, because I mean, like, you need to be confident enough to kind of go up to somebody and like, you know, say hello and stuff like that. And I've never refused a selfie, doesn't matter how bad I'm looking or whatever it is, because I respect that somebody's taken their time out to come all the way to you to, you know, say hello and like, you know, say, you know, whatever it is that they've liked seeing one of your videos, whatever it is, something small. It's like, I really appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, that really has, I think, makes you think that, wow, it's alhamdulillah, it's such an amazing thing, the internet, YouTube itself, that you can reach so many people in so many different places.
Yeah, it is amazing. I also think that everybody has like a niche or something that they're great at, or a specific way in which they can go ahead and, like, you know, touch the hearts of people. There's a quote that this guy, you know, the MMA brand Tap Out, which was huge when MMA like was like, you know, back when like UFC had first started and stuff. Tap Out was like a huge brand, and then it kind of like soured down to like Sports Direct sales and stuff. And the guy who founded that, he died in a car accident. His name was Mask. Well, that's what he called himself, Mask. And I think he may have got the quote from maybe Tupac or Nas. But essentially, I was watching like this. He used to have a TV program, and he said a quote. He said, I might not be able to touch the hearts of millions, but I might be able to touch one person's heart who then goes on to touch the hearts of millions. So it's amazing. I think that one thing that is so powerful is understanding that no matter what field you're in, you're able to touch hearts somehow. And you might think, well, how? This guy's just doing tech reviews. But you don't know, just like I mentioned, that how you may come across. Perhaps someone is inspired by your job, and then they end up doing something similar because and going away from something that they desired, that was going to lead them down a bad path. Or perhaps just by watching their videos, they pick up on small traits about you, and they say, you know, Super Saf, he's not like that, or the way he speaks is like this, the way he speaks like that. Do you ever think about those things, about the kind of beyond tech, how you might be having an impact, like a great impact on the next generation?
I don't think about too much, but I think like a few things that I do try to do in my videos, like for example, like I will never curse in my videos.
I was gonna say there's no profanity,
nothing like that. You know, because I have like little nieces and nephews who like watch my videos like occasionally, not all the time. If they're watching this, it's like you should watch them all. But you know, like the last thing I would want is for me to set a bad example for them, right? Because, you know, if somebody's seeing me, right, and if I'm doing something wrong, like what I don't want to do is, like, I don't want to be a role model as such, because I'm not perfect. And I think a lot of people like I don't want to do something wrong, and people think, oh, Saf's doing that, I can do that as well. I don't want to do that because I don't want to influence anybody to do something that they shouldn't do. But at the same time, I don't want to directly anything that I can impact, like for example, not using any sort of cursing or bad language in my videos, and that's something that I've stuck to from the start. It's like, nope, I'm not going to have anything like that. And alhamdulillah, it's actually worked out because a lot of channels who did use bad language in their videos got demonetized when the whole adpocalypse thing came about, right?
Yeah.
Whereas tech space, I think, was one of the only spaces that wasn't affected because we don't curse, we don't have like violence or nudity in our videos and things like that. It's just regular guys. It's like as we're having a conversation, it's just like I'm having a conversation with the audience. So I do try my best to like try to set a good example, but at the same time, I'm not perfect in any way. And what I wouldn't want to do is, if I'm doing something which isn't right, then I wouldn't want somebody else to think, oh yeah, Saf's doing that, I can do that as well. Because I think that's something that a lot of the youth as well, they'll look up to somebody, right? And to them, that person can do no wrong, right? And you must have seen this with a lot of influential people who then maybe go off track somewhere and do some really crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And then, people are like, oh yeah, it's okay, that person's doing it, I can do it as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that I definitely wouldn't want.
Yeah, it's true. It's powerful to think that there's the millions with an M of people who potentially have access to your content, and to know that there has to be some sort of, as a human, responsibility that you have to understand that I have with these people. And again, you're really blessed that you're in this safe space of tech where the discussion is based on tech, and you can't really do wrong with that because you're there for a purpose. Your field, your art, your industry is that of analyzing the different products and their uses in for different things, different benefits that they have, and stuff like that. And you're not necessarily, for that reason, you're not necessarily going into the fields of politics or going into the fields of anything that could be deemed controversial. But with that being said, it's still the fact that there are so many eyes on your content.
Yes.
I can imagine that kind of being a thought that would play on my mind.
Yeah. I mean, so for example, on my Twitter, I'll be quite open, right? So for instance, I tweet something out the other day. I really like seeing when England won the World Cup, right? The Cricket World Cup. The Ewan Morgan, the captain, he said Allah was with us too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I saw that.
And and he was talking about the diversity in the team.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing. And at a time when we've got certain world leaders who are being openly and blatantly racist,
Yeah.
I spoke up against that, right?
Yep.
Because I don't care. Like, okay, if somebody's going to unfollow me because I'm speaking up against racism, then that's fine. I'd rather not have you as a follower, right? Okay. I'm not going to get too political. I generally don't try to get too political, but there are certain things that, certain morals and values that I will stick by, and I'm not ashamed of sticking by, right? So it's not like I'm going to stay completely quiet when there's something of that level. I have to make sure that I condemn that, because that's something that's going to impact all of us.
Sure.
So, I mean, so...
That's amazing, man. It's beautiful that you're able to use that reach for that advantage. And yeah, like you said, staying away from it in general, which I agree with, but then dabbling in and out when, for example, you feel like there's something that is a major injustice or major, or something really, really cool. I remember when we had the interview with Moeen Ali, he was mentioning that he was shedding such a positive light on the England cricket team and the boys there, and he said that the level of respect that they will have for Islam in general, and the level of respect that they have for him and Adil Rashid, who is the other Muslim player on the team. He said that you realize that people in general, they have a lot of respect and love for a person practicing their faith, as long as you can kind of show that you're serious about it and you're consistent with it.
Yep.
And one clip that we kind of cut out and recently put up on our Instagram was when he said on our episode, he said, even if I'm in the middle of a game and I'm fielding and I know that, for example, prayer time is here and I'm going to miss it, I'll go to the umpire and tell him that I need to pray, and he'll say, all right, go for 2 or 3 overs, and they'll let them bring someone else on from the subs just for those 2 or 3 overs so that he can pray. And he said, my point is that if essentially if he can do that, there shouldn't be an excuse. If you really want to do something, or if you believe in something, there's nothing would stop you. I thought that was so powerful, man. Especially coming from someone who's a professional athlete on such a high level, like Moeen Ali, bro. He plays cricket for England on an international level.
Yeah, I mean, seem like Moeen Ali, and like, you know, like I respect that so much, and you know, to me, that's the England I know, right? That's the Britain I know, and I've grown up with. You know, people are diverse. We have respect for each of those cultures. You know, I've got a really good friend of mine who's Hindu, and of course he doesn't eat beef. So what I'll do is whenever we're getting together, I'm like, we'll go to a vegetarian restaurant, right?
That's awesome.
Because to be honest, I can do with cutting down on meat anyway. But it's out of respect, because
Yeah, for sure.
I know he's, you know, he'd be fine with it, but just out of respect, because there's that mutual respect. And I remember I was like sat with him in a car, like this is many years ago, and we had music on loud, and we were going past the masjid, and he switched it off. Now I didn't even realize that there was a masjid there myself, because we were in a different area. But as soon as he saw that, out of respect, he switched off the music, right? Because he didn't want to cause any disturbance in case anybody was praying down there. And I thought that was amazing. And again, like, you know, we were just messaging yesterday, right, about how we need to catch up and stuff. And you know, we've grown up together, and like that mutual respect that we have for each other is so. This is what the UK is about. That's what England is about, and it's so good to see, man.
I agree. Yeah, and it's lovely when you get to see that on a mass scale, like a World Cup match, or with a huge team, or even an England football team, man. Like how diverse England football team is amazing. You see these young players and from all different parts of the world, and it feels like, you know, that's the spirit. And even with the Football World Cup, everyone's kind of getting behind the team. It's something that I rate a lot too, man.
It's amazing. And like, you know, like going back to the tech space, right? So a lot of my friends, you know, they know I'm Muslim. They know that I don't eat pork. They know that I don't drink alcohol. So just last year, I was supposed to be in New York. So one of my good friends, David, he was gonna have a barbecue at his place. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come down. You know, at the end of the day, of course, I mean, I'm not gonna eat down there, but I'll come down, right? Now, my trip actually got cancelled. So it's funny because he sent me a picture because he had went out and bought halal sausages, right? So it was like, and then he sent me a picture, and it's funny because I shared it, right? And everybody was like, that's beautiful. Like, that's so good. Like, that friendship there.
That's amazing.
But the negative out of that is that he's now referred to as the halal sausage guy.
Oh no.
So it's like, oh yeah, that's the halal sausage guy. It's like, that's probably not the best name you want to give him. But you know, I mean, like, you know, lovely guy. You know,
it's those little thoughtful things, isn't it?
You know what it is, and this is the thing, and you know, we have such a diverse group of friends. Like, you know, we'll be out, right, wherever that is on any side of the world, and you'll see, like, you know, one of my good friends, Enabong, he's Nigerian, right? He's Christian, and we like talk almost every day, right? David, again, there's another friend of mine, Marco Josh, who's like he's from the Philippines, right? And then I kind of sit around, and then, like, you know, you just kind of like, you don't even realize, because you're just like your boys, right? Yeah. And then you just like have a look around and you say, actually, look, we've got somebody from like pretty much all parts of the world here, right? And we're here having the best time, right? We're best of friends, we're having the best time. And that's, to me, like, especially in the tech space, I love seeing, but I also like, you know, in sport, seeing that in sport as well. It's like, look, our diversity is a strength. It's not a weakness, right? And unfortunately, because again of, you know, certain, like, what I don't like seeing is, like, you know, if you've got somebody in power who's blatantly racist, that normalizes racism for a lot of people. They're like, if that person, you know, we were talking about earlier on, if there's somebody influential, it's like, oh, if that person's doing it, I can do it. It just makes it okay,
doesn't it?
This is the thing, and that's something that really gets to me. It's just like, it's not okay, and it never will be okay. And as if you've got somebody that's influential in power that is making such comments, then it empowers people who are against diversity and are racist, which is something that shouldn't exist in today's day and age.
True.
Right? But this is something that, like, as I said, I don't openly try to, like, okay, I'm like trying to push something, but it's like when people see us guys kind of like hanging out and like playing pranks on each other and just having a really good time, right? And they see that, and then they see that we're all from different walks of life, we're all from different cultures, but we all come together and we can still get along really well, and we have mutual respect for each other's beliefs and cultures. And that's the strength that we have in our community. And again, like seeing that in sports, it was so awesome to see. Like, you know, when I saw England, it was just like, because people always ask me, like, they expect me to support a different team, right? And I'm like, no, man. I'm like, I always support my home team because, you know, I may be British Asian, but I'm British first, right? Okay, I've been born and brought up here. My, you know, like I don't like having a curry, right? I like having fish and chips. Like, if you were to give me a choice of curry or fish and chips, it's like, I'm gonna have fish and chips, man. Like, cause that's me. That's you know, I born like I'm sure with yourself as well.
Yeah, I've always been the same as well. However, I recently moved out and I learned how to make a curry.
All right. Okay.
I was watching a video one day. I think I just fancied one, and so I learned how to make it.
Yeah.
And so recently I've been having a lot more curries because I learned how to make. I realized that you just got to make the masala yourself, like the like sauce, and you can just put anything in it. And I know that sounds like such a aha moment that shouldn't be, but I figured out. So now, I've been making a lot of curries. I've had a lot of fun, like experimenting with different things. But yeah, no, I'm the same, man. Like, I love. We were actually brought up on like shepherd's pies and like lasagnas. That was us. Even though lasagna is not really
okay,
British,
I know, but I mean, it's like more sort of Western food.
Yeah, we were brought up
on
on that kind of stuff as
like
well.
Traditional.
Yeah.
I can't eat spices. Okay, I'm a disappointment to brown people. I'm sorry, right? Okay, because it's funny because whenever we go down, like they just kind of, you know, people will never say it, but they just kind of have like an expectation,
like a side.
Yeah, it's like you're brown, so like, yeah, of course you can do spices. I'm like, no, I cannot do spices, right? Okay. I always go, like, when I go to Nando's, it's you know, lemon and herb or mango and lime. Yeah,
I'm a medium.
I can't even do a medium, bro.
Oh man.
I'm sorry. Like,
no, it's fine because I think Omar,
I apologize.
I think Omar's a lemon and herb, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Saf, I want to talk a bit about you traveling because I know you travel a lot.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you travel a few times a month even.
Yeah.
One thing that I think that people will be really interested in, and I'm really interested in, is what does Super Saf, like, what's his go-to travel bag look like? Like, what is it that you pack that you have to, no matter if it's a small flight or a long flight? What's in your bag? What do you make sure you take with you? I'm assuming that in that you've got obviously your power pack, like the essential cables. And I'm talking about your backpack, not your suitcase.
All right.
So I'm saying, what is your backpack that, like, as long as you're out and about and you got your backpack on you, you're good.
Yeah.
What is it that's in there?
Okay, so laptop, of course. I generally
are you Mac or PC?
I switch between both.
Fine.
Yeah. So again, I don't like to be limited by a certain piece of software or platform.
Fine.
I like to be open. So it depends on you know, what I'm like feeling like. So I have both a Mac and a PC laptop. I have my beard comb.
I know
you know the struggle, bro.
I noticed.
You know the struggle. You need to make sure that obviously you keep on top of it. So I'll have that. I'll have usually, I mean, if I'm traveling outside the country, I'll probably have maybe 4 phones, just because I'll be testing a few things out. So if there's...
Sorry to put you in there, but I have to ask, do you get questioned ever, like when you stop in the airport and you have 4 phones? Like, why do you have 4 phones?
Bro, like, you gotta remember, like, you know, being a brown guy with a beard, with the name Safwan Ahmed Mia, right?
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, I don't get stopped as much as but before. Like, I'd say 2 out of 3 flights, I'd be randomly selected.
No way.
For a secondary search.
Why do you think that he's reduced though?
Why do you think I'm not sure. I think maybe they just kind of see how much I travel. And it started to reduce. But I remember, like, it used to be so frustrating because, like, the first few times I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I even said to, like, one of the ladies, like, she was just doing a job, but she goes, oh, you've been randomly selected for a secondary search. And I'm like, you know what, like, let's be real here, it's not random, right? Okay, because 2 out of 3 times, every single time, and especially the amount I travel,
it can't be
like,
random.
you know, I said, like, on average I'm traveling at least once a month. Most of the times it's twice. Sometimes if it's a really busy month, it's like 3 times a month. But, you know, I'm traveling a lot, and if 2 out of 3 times I'm getting stopped for a secondary search, right? Clearly that's not random, right? Okay, now I get it, the security and everything, but then, you know, I pull out all of these phones, right? Which
must look weird, man.
Pretty dodgy, right? But then started to do is I carry business cards around with me now.
Nice.
It's just like, look, you can just Google. This is what I do for a living. I make YouTube videos around technology, so I have to have multiple devices with me, right? So like today, I'm testing out some 5G devices. So I've got my 2 here, but I've got 2 other 5G devices, in my bag here, which I'm testing out. So then it's kind of like it's my job, so I have to do that. So yes, it is a bit weird. Thankfully, it's generally been okay. Once we've had that conversation, they know that I'm not dodgy in any way.
Fair enough,
and it's usually okay. But it used to happen a lot before.
So you're traveling abroad, you're on a flight, you've got your devices, you've got your laptop, you've got your beard comb.
Yes.
What are we doing in terms of audio? Have you got headphones?
So again, so this is gonna sound like I'm like trying to keep things
Let me guess,
neutral.
you have a few different
Yeah,
ones.
so I have my 2 go-tos are the Samsung Galaxy Buds right now.
So do
and
these
the
work with
iPhone?
These work with iPhone?
Yeah, they do.
They work with anything, the Bluetooth.
Yeah, so they'll work with anything. And then I also have the AirPods.
Bro,
Yeah.
how do you keep your AirPods case so clean?
Oh, is it really that? I don't think it's that clean. It's
Saf,
just like
look at this. I'm going to be dirty. I'm a
Alright.
very clean person in general,
Yeah.
but
not the AirPods.
not the AirPods. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Bro.
Let's see.
No, I can't show you. You're going to cry.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's bad.
all right. I don't know. Like mine's are generally pretty alright.
Oh, you don't clean that?
Huh?
You don't clean it?
I mean, to be honest, these are pretty new.
Oh, they're the two,
So,
aren't they?
Yeah, these are the newer ones. I've only had them like a couple of months.
What's the difference again? They
So they support wireless charging. That's the main thing. So the case
Oh, I see.
is a wireless charging case. So you can just drop these on where and then there's improvements
skin.
in battery life as well. So that's just a skin that I've got on mine, which is why it looks a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm going to buy that. I'm going
Yeah.
to buy a skin because I don't actually have skins.
Yeah.
And do these AirPod 2s, is there a difference in the actual AirPods?
No. So they're very similar. They sound very similar to me. I'm not an audiophile, but from everybody that I've spoken to, there is a few differences. But generally to my ears, they sound pretty similar.
Oh, because these aren't the AirPod 2s. They're updated AirPods, aren't they? It's not like another.
They don't call them the AirPods 2,
Sure,
right?
sure,
So
sure.
it's just the new AirPods, right?
Fine.
So it's the 2019 generation AirPods. The great thing about these is I can just drop them on a wireless charger. But then I have the Galaxy Buds now. Those are actually my go-tos.
Do you mind if I?
Oh, no, go for it, yeah. So I really like these because they hook in. AirPods don't tend to stay in my ears. With those, they isolate the sound better as well because they tuck in.
I'm the opposite to you.
Yeah. Okay.
I prefer the AirPod style thing. I don't
Okay.
like the ones. I feel like they're blocking my ears. These ones.
Okay.
These kind.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I actually like that they block my ears because they isolate the sound a lot better. So like, especially when you're on flights all the time, I don't like big hands. So those obviously will have better noise cancellation. But the advantage of having Galaxy Buds is that they're so small. Like even if I go to sleep with them on, it's fine, right? And they stay in and they block out a lot of the outside sound.
Do you think that I often get told that I have extremely small ears for an average human?
They do seem pretty small compared to mine.
Yeah.
Maybe mine is just too big.
No, yours aren't too big. I think you have the average size ears.
Average size, yeah. Yours
But
do
so for
seem
mine,
pretty small.
yeah,
Yeah,
they-
I didn't notice that before.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with those ones. That's why the
Yeah.
AirPods fit me right.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I think it's obviously down to your ear
Preference,
shape,
yeah.
right? For some people, so many people that I know swear by the AirPods, and they never fall out for them. For me, like literally, I'd have to every few minutes, I have to kind of push them back in. But what I would really like about the AirPods is when it comes to phone calls, they're the best that I've tested when it comes to wireless earbuds.
have you tested AirPods with voice notes though? On like
Not voice notes, no, but like general phone calls, they're so much more consistent in terms of they don't drop quality. And
Yeah,
when I'm
they're
speaking
great.
to somebody else as well, like they'll be like, "Oh, it sounds so much better."
they're great for phone calls, bro. But AirPods are awful for WhatsApp voice notes. Like
Okay.
if I'm voice noting and I've got AirPods in, I would love to just voice note and
Through
use
the
the mic.
AirPod.
And the mic, in fact, I'm going to play you something because I did just send a voice note with my AirPods, which I don't normally have to. The annoying thing is that I have to take my AirPods out, close them, and then like send a voice note like this.
Okay.
Because this, for example, I won't play you all of it because it might be a private voice note. I can't
Just
remember.
gonna reveal some private
So-
info here.
Yeah. So this would be a normal voice note without AirPods.
Mm.
So
Nice.
like that.
Nice.
Actually, should I play that on here so that they can hear it? Because
Yeah.
that was only yes and no, so it's fine.
Mm.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Khalid, bro. Jazakallahu khair for your time.
Okay, so that's without AirPods.
Yeah.
And this, for example, is a voice note sent today with AirPods.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Akhi Yusuf,
Yeah.
man. How are you, bro? How are your eyes?
Yeah.
Sorry, he had laser eye surgery. That's why I said.
Oh,
how
is
eyes.
All right.
So can you see the difference, bro? It's substantial.
Yeah, it is. I think it's obviously never going to be as good as the phone mic itself. But yeah, they are still a lot better in terms of when it comes to, at least when it comes to calls.
Yeah, amazing.
Compared to a
I
lot of
agree,
the
I
others.
agree.
I think having that little thing coming down. So whenever I'm generally making phone calls, I want to have my hands free, whatever else I'm doing, right? Although I can't multitask to save my life. But just generally, then I'll go for my AirPods. But if not, I just prefer the Galaxy Buds overall for listening to, whether it's podcasts or YouTube videos or whatever it is.
Okay, so let's carry on with this travel bag because and the reason I'm so intrigued, bro, is because when I travel, I'm really like a fiend for like how other people pack.
Okay.
Especially with regards to tech, because I love having my tech. I almost want you to like break
put
down
everything
my list so you can tell me what I'm doing right wrong. But essentially, I will always make sure I have a fully charged portable power pack. I have
have
my which you have there.
fully charged. Come to think of it, but yeah.
You've been traveling a lot today.
Yes,
Fair.
I have.
I'll have all my leads with me,
Yep.
which is generally like my iPhone lead, and that's pretty much it. To be honest, I might have a charger for like I have my portable charger wire if I need to. I have a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I
of course.
usually have two
I actually have the same, but not that amazing lens that you have.
mirror,
I always
yeah.
notice.
Yeah.
I've got my sleeping tablets.
Okay.
Because, do you actually have sleeping tablets?
No, I don't.
For
I
flights,
don't.
man, you must
No,
be
man.
just really cool at traveling.
No, I don't actually. But we'll talk about this in a second.
Fine.
Sleeping tablets.
Fine. Yeah, I could talk all day
Yeah,
about them.
yeah.
I've got my phone, my AirPods,
Yeah.
charger. What else have I got? Sunglasses, a laptop charger, obviously, and I can actually check because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
keep a lot of the stuff with me. I mean, I know people aren't listening to podcasts to hear about my tips and tricks, but
Yeah.
I want to see how similar it is.
Okay. I'm gonna pull everything else out in here as well.
Oh, I carry one of these just in case. I don't know why.
Okay. Yeah. So if you need to plug something in, then at
Yeah.
least you've got that.
Yes,
Yep.
there you go.
Fair enough.
Packet of Tic Tacs, of course.
Yeah. So I usually have some chewing gum.
I got my external hard drive, which, by the way, I shouldn't have in this day and age. I should have everything on the cloud. But
Yeah.
this is my power pack. I love
Okay.
the RAV Power ones.
Oh, RAV Power, really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
RAV
really
Power,
good.
really good.
SD cards,
Of course.
Havax.
Yeah.
SD card converter for my Mac because it doesn't work.
That's one of the annoying things about having a Mac. Yeah.
And internet banking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, why has he got a calculator?
No, internet banking. So my point is, I'll come back.
So, a lip balm.
Oh,
very
okay.
important. Some spare contact lenses if I need
love
to. Eye drops because my eyes dry up quite a bit. Hand wash.
Yes.
I always have that because I'm very like, when you're like in planes and stuff like
Yes.
that before you're about to eat and stuff. So I'll always have that. Some hand and face cream just to kind of.
I like that as well.
Because again, like, flights are so bad. Like have you ever seen a pack of crisp on a flight? Have you ever
Yeah, it
taken
blows
one?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if it's doing that to a pack of crisps, just imagine what it's doing to you, especially if you're traveling a lot, right?
Oh, wow.
So flights
Yeah.
are really good, and obviously you need to make sure you keep hydrated. So I'll like have lots of water on a flight, and I'll also get up a lot to, whether it's to use a bathroom or just kind of have a walk, because that's one of the things that people, I think, like when you sat down for 7 hours, what that does to your body is messed up, man.
Really?
Like, I came back from it was like a 30-hour journey back. I was coming back from Hawaii. Funny because I had to literally the day after I had to fly back to New York, which was a last minute thing, but I had socks on, right? And I generally tend to keep my socks on, so when I'm doing wudu, I don't have to
Right.
put my foot in the sink,
Of
right?
course, I do the exact same thing, bro.
Yeah, but the problem is when you've had socks on for 30 hours in a row, that's not good. Like, because what actually happened is, I'll show you a picture later on. But like it had like basically like a blood clot. So like everything, like it was really bad.
Bro, you know what you need?
Yeah.
You need the hospital socks.
Now the thing is, those actually still don't work for me now.
Oh, really?
My solution is ankle socks. I use ankle socks because
The thing with
they're
ankle socks though is that I believe you can't do the wudu over them.
or is it like I have like quite ones that cover up to the ankles, but like
Oh,
not
fair,
all the
fair,
way.
fair,
Because
fair,
the thing
fair.
is, the main tension that you have is around the
Like the lower shin. Okay, yeah, okay, fine,
that's
fine,
where
fine.
like it's all the pressure. As long as it's covering the ankles, are you okay, man?
Yeah, I flew back.
Oh, I see. So then, as long as you're covering the ankles, so like, that's what I
course,
do.
right.
So then that way it's covered and it's fine, but it's not too much because the other ones
I
that go all the way
see.
up to the knees, again, they'll start sliding down, and again, you'll still get that. So I mean, like the thing is with travel, like alhamdulillah, I absolutely love traveling, and I'm so like I think being able to travel everywhere is something that everybody should do. I mean, I was looking at actually taxi driver in Canada told me about this statistic which I did check up. I think it's around 65% of Americans don't have a passport. Right now,
I've heard that,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Sorry, do you watch a channel called Yes Theory?
sometimes, yeah.
And but on Yes Theory, they wanted to surprise their pizza delivery guy with like fulfilling whatever dream that he wanted to, like fly anywhere. And they had to go through so many pizza delivery guys to get to one who actually had a passport.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I get that's because America's so big, right? It's so big, so obviously you can experience like lots of different things there. But I think if anybody's got an opportunity to travel, I'd say travel because places are so different. Like we tend to kind of stick to our own bubble, but then when you go to different places, you see different cultures, you see, different people, you meet different people. It's amazing. Like the amount you get to learn and the respect that you have for all different people from all different walks of life is something that you just can't experience sitting at home over the computer. You have to actually go out there and physically experience that, and I think that's so amazing. And alhamdulillah, so blessed that I get to travel so much. But one of the things I always say is that travel is not as glamorous as Instagram makes it out to be, right? As I was saying, 30-hour travel, and like if you're doing one trip a year, then fair enough. It's like, oh, you get over it. But then when you have a 30-hour trip back to the UK, and within 24 hours you need to go back to somewhere else, right? That's not easy.
Yeah,
like that really takes that out. I mean, regardless of whether you're flying business class or whatever it is, physically the human body, like it really does kind of give in, and you're jet lagged. So like a lot of times I'll come back, and for a week I'll be jet lagged, and I'll be getting back used to it and I have to travel out again, right? So it is a bit of a struggle depending on the amount of travel that you do. So but at the same time, if you do get an opportunity to travel, like every few months or whatever, like I remember when I had the opportunity to travel, I would jump onto a plane, any plane that any opportunity that would come in, whatever it was, like, yeah, I'll get to go somewhere, I'll get to see this new place, and I'll just go. Now I'm a lot more selective just because, it physically
It has to be worth it
drains
for you as well. It needs to make
it has
sense.
to be. Yeah, it has to be.
It also goes to the point of, on like the Islamic side, people sometimes have this argument that there's a lot of things that are made easier for a traveler, like Islamic. Like Allah makes it easy to do certain things.
Yeah,
and
joining Salah and stuff.
Exactly,
like, definitely. Yeah,
and there's many more things that are made easy. Even you're talking about the issue of the socks. Some of the scholars say that when you're in your hometown, that only lasts for like 24 hours, but when you're traveling, it can last like 3 days or more. So point is that some people kind of use the argument that, but in these days we're not like traveling on camels and all this kind of stuff, so we don't need that. And I remember one teacher, and he was saying that's not the point. The point is that when you're traveling, you're just out of your comfort zone, you're out of your routine.
Exactly.
And Allah knows that that's difficult upon a person. So even if you're not traveling on a camel, the fact that you are, for example, on a flight, the fact that you're outside of your routine, you're not waking up in your bed, and everyone has routines. Like I'm sure you could tell me what your routine is if you're at home every day.
Yeah.
And it's probably you wake up at the same time every day, you have your coffee, you have your food, etc.
Yeah.
And when you're out of that routine, it's uncomfortable for your body, your mind, everything. So to have ease during that period is really a blessing, man.
I mean, it's like for example, Ramadan. Like a lot of people don't know this, but if you're traveling, then you don't have to fast, because one of the things people will like say to me in like Instagram and stuff, like, oh, why aren't you not fasting? And it's like, yeah, I have been fasting, but like now I'm traveling, and they'll be like, oh, again, you're not going on a camel, are you? Yeah, and it's like, I've left the UK at whatever time it was, there's a 10-hour difference to the location that I'm going to, right? Okay, 10-hour time difference. If I was to start fasting and I would open my fast, I'll be fasting for well over 30 hours, right? Okay,
yeah.
so I don't know what kind of thing you're following. Yes, of course, I know. Of course, travel was much more difficult back in the day, and there's nothing. I totally understand that. But travel in itself, right? As I said, regardless of what class you're flying, yes, of course, if you're traveling at high class, it just make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But it does really take it out of you, because I mean, especially when you're going to somewhere like, it's not like I'm going there to chill. I'm not going there for a holiday. I'm working. Like the last Apple event that I went to.
Was that in Cupertino?
In Cupertino, yeah. So we started at 7 was meeting time, right? So we met up at 7, and I had some breakfast before we met, right? The day went on full day, right? And I didn't have anything to eat till around 9:30, 10 p.m.
Wow.
Because it was just so busy.
Yeah,
we had the keynote, then we had the briefings, then we had to film everything, then we had to edit the video to go online. And like one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is I can't just leave it and edit it tomorrow, because tomorrow nobody's going to care about it. I need to get the video up ASAP, right? So I mean, technically I'd kept the fast because I hadn't eaten for all that time, and like, the heat down there, especially when you're outdoors and stuff, right? Yes, I was having water, but like it was full on. And this is like, straight. You get off the plane, you maybe sleep for a couple of hours, right? And then you're onto it. You're actually working. Like, yes, of course, I'm only going to be sharing the positives, like, on Instagram and stuff. Yeah, I'm going to be showing like when we're all together, we're chilling out. Maybe we'll have a dinner the day after or something like that. But like, especially when it's on event days, it is so hectic. Like, there's been times when I've like I actually posted this on Instagram stories to kind of like what people think I really do and what I actually do. Because when you're traveling, majority of the time you spend in the hotel because you're editing videos, you're trying to record a voiceover. Now, trying to record a voiceover in New York when it's so loud outside is so difficult. What you have to kind of do is you have to switch off the air conditioning if it's hot, because that's obviously going to be a distraction. You need to sit in the closet, put a blanket over your head, and that's how you record the voiceover. Because otherwise there's so many like distractions and stuff, and it's like that's a part of YouTube and whatever it is, this influencer lifestyle that people don't see. There is a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of hard work.
Would you record audio on?
What do I record audio on? So right now, if I'm doing stuff straight to camera, it's the Rode Wireless Go kit.
Okay.
So that's one on the camera, and then one feeding into a lav mic.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
Cool.
so that's what I normally use. But if I'm like in studio and stuff as well, then I'd use another lav mic, which goes directly into a Zoom audio recorder. So then that way I can sync it up later on.
Oh, cool. That's what we do as well. I was going to Zoom H6.
Yeah.
No, that's really first. That's really cool about your bag. I think the bag thing is so important because when I first got married, my wife used to say to me like, "Oh, you always seem to have like a backpack like all around you." She just poke fun at me that it's like I'm a school kid.
Yeah.
But I just have this concept of like having with me a bag that if need be, I can survive for 24 to 48 hours on everything that I have on me. I've got all my. I know that sounds so not narcissistic, but like so like. It's such a first world problem.
It is
that like, but it's just the convenience.
Totally relate.
So I always have in my bag. I could genuinely not go home now and still edit this. But by the way, bear in mind this episode of Freshly Grind that me and you are recording now is going out today to our Patreon subscribers.
Okay.
And midnight to our across all of our platforms, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Cool. So. And I want to stick by that. We haven't really missed an episode on a Friday, bar the rare one or two occasions for 2.5 years. Right. So, but I have with me, if I don't end up at home, the enough ability to pop up in a coffee shop and I can just to the point where like you just saw. Yeah. So as you just saw in our office, I have the 5K. Which is what I normally will, for example, edit the episodes on because it's a lot faster. Yeah. But like today, for example, after we're done recording, I'm heading back, and I've got in there the USB adapter for the Mac. I've got for the SD cards, everything, so I can record. I think that's important.
It is so important, and like my theories are always, I'd rather not need something and have it than not have something and need it.
I used to sometimes carry toilet roll in my backpack. You know that?
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's like you want to obviously be mindful, right?
Yeah.
So what I now do is one of the things I'll if you do you carry a camera around as well?
Do you know what I used? So the G7X I used to always carry around with me, and so I used to do a lot of vlogging and stuff. And I kind of slowed down with that. With the success of the podcast, I felt like I was more suited to doing a podcast and vlogging.
Yeah.
Although I do sometimes miss it, but then I would always carry the G7X.
Yeah. So now the thing is, once you've got like a bigger camera, so I usually have the Sony A7 III, right? It messes your back up. Like literally years of, because a lot of people don't know this, but I used to also do wedding photography a long time ago, and carrying all that equipment around all day like has a massive impact on your back, right? So my advice always is, if you're in a field where you have lots to carry around, get a 4-wheel roller bag, right? Okay.
Is that what you have now?
Right now, I'm not really, because I've not got my laptop and stuff with me, because I'm only here for a little bit. So it's just like, I'm in and out sort of a thing. But if I'm going anywhere else, what I'll have is a 4-wheel roller bag, right? And it's a camera bag that has a compartment for your laptop. It has a compartment for your camera, lenses and things like that. But it also, you can kind of like take parts out of it. So what I normally do as well is I'll have a spare change of clothes, because my fear is always that my luggage doesn't end up there, and I don't want to be going to an event in my joggers, which is what I wear when I'm on the plane, right? Because I want to be comfortable. So I don't want to be there with the hoodie and joggers at this like massive keynote. So what I'll always do is I'll usually have a Super Saf t-shirt, spare change of underwear and things like that, socks and things like that. I'll have that with me just in case. And that's something, if I'm traveling abroad, that's something that I always say.
What's the 4-wheel roller bag? Oh, you mean like those little travel bags that fit in the... Oh, I see.
So they'll be the exact size for cabin luggage, right? So this is not the scale.
Of course.
It's not the scale.
This size of the cabin.
It's like
what planes are you flying in,
straight
man?
down. It's like, so it's cabin safe luggage that you want to look for, right? But always go for 4-wheel rollers. Don't go for the 2-wheel ones, because you have to still drag the weight, right? When you've got 4 wheels, you can just push it and it's going to glide. And especially if you're at airports and things like that, their floors are designed for like trolleys and things like that, right? So it's just going to glide across, right? So that's something I always recommend, right? Is if anybody's traveling abroad, always go for a 4-wheel roller. Don't go for another 2. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but trust me, the convenience that it's going to give you is going to be totally worth it.
The thing is, though, there's some, as you're saying, you're obviously experienced in this field because you travel so much. And so I would definitely take your advice on board more than anyone's. But it seems like the carrying a backpack thing is more like the idea of being able to carry something on your back and have your hands free.
Yeah.
But I agree. I suppose if you're carrying around equipment, spare change of clothes, and those kind of essentials, it makes sense to just have.
It just kind of like
And you have
builds
your
up.
backpack as well.
Yeah. Now, if you've got that as well, like, and then it just all adds up, and then like once you've got a laptop, which is say roughly on 2 kgs, right? You've got a camera, right? You've got this, that. That bag becomes really heavy. Like sometimes I'll also have a tripod with me as well, because I'm gonna need that whenever I go somewhere. So obviously it's different for different people. Like today, as I said, I've got a few phones with me. I've got my power bank, things like that, but I've not got anything that's very heavy. But like I've spoken to so many friends who are in this field, and again, like everyone has the same story that they've really messed their back up, because you think about it, that constant weight on your back it does get, and especially if you're traveling a lot, right? So that's what I always recommend, is if you've got a 4-wheel roller, it's going to take that stress off your back so much more. So they're pretty pricey. I'm not sponsored by any bag brand, just putting that out there. So it's not like I'm recommending somebody because of whatever reasons. It's purely based on experience. So if you're traveling abroad anywhere, then I'd definitely recommend one of those, because they easily fit into the cabin luggage compartment, right? And then it just takes that strain off your back.
Have you oh man, it threw me off, man, because I just had a really cool question I was going to ask you about this traveling thing, and I've lost it. Oh, that's the worst. The worst thing you go through as a podcaster is exactly what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
No, but it was something about that for the full travel bag. But, oh no, yeah, you're in London right now. You said you didn't pack your laptop, so you don't necessarily need your laptop on you every day.
So yeah, because today I had some stuff that I was doing with Vodafone.
And are you do you have a camera with you at all times? As in, not at all times. I don't want to kind of describe your life.
No. Most of the times I will have. Today specifically, because I was only doing social media content, I have the phones.
Fine.
So I don't actually have the camera gear. But generally speaking, 9 out of 10 times I will have my laptop on my camera. Today's a bit of an exception, just because this was a very short project that I was doing. So it's just like I was going to come in, and then that's why I had a bit of spare time today. So I was like, let me hit Faisal up and let's catch up. So yeah, man.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for coming down. Before we go, I want to hear your take on the sleeping tablets. We said we'd come to it.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll tell you why I don't have sleeping tablets, and then you can tell me why you have them. Right?
Okay.
So I struggle to sleep, especially on flights.
Fine.
Right? Okay. But I have this thing now. This is a bit of a personal thing. Now we talked earlier on about coffee, right?
Okay.
So I strictly have 1 cup of coffee a day because I don't like being reliant on things, right? So I am fully addicted to coffee. If I don't have my cup of coffee in the morning, I will have a splitting headache to the point where it's not even a placebo. Like I remember I went to my brother's house for breakfast one day, right? So I had breakfast, had coffee, and I had the worst headache throughout the day, right? And then later on, he told me that, we only have decaf, so that's what I gave you. And I was like, how could you? No. You are no longer my brother. I was like, you betrayed me. But that just goes to show that, I thought I had a cup of coffee, but it was physically the caffeine addiction. Now, I don't like being addicted to anything. Now, what happens in Ramadan is I have a detox from coffee, so I don't have a cup of coffee throughout, right? The first few days forget the food and drink, right? The first few days without coffee, I
have the exact same thing. Yeah.
It's so difficult, but then after the first few days, then you kind of get used to it, right? And then that's what I like, that I'm not completely reliant on it. Now, having things like sleeping tablets, like what I don't want to do is I don't want to run that risk of becoming addicted to sleeping tablets and then being reliant on it. I don't like the idea. That's the reason why I don't have.
And I agree with you, and I think you should stick to it. And I think that's the best opinion for it. For me, I also have an extremely addictive personality.
Okay.
And therefore, I have to police myself on like an extreme level with anything that I like consume. I don't know why I have an addictive personality when it comes to these things, but I think the best thing I've done is accept it and realize it, and then make sure I don't consume a lot of things that I can get addicted to. So I often tell people that coffee is like yourself. I get really bad headaches if I don't have my first coffee in the morning. I can just have 1 coffee in the morning and then I'm good. I don't require 2 coffees a day. And actually, it's very rare that I would have 2 coffees a day. I do quite often have decaf in the second part of the day, but that's more so because I just fancy like the taste of a coffee.
Yeah, of course.
Which sounds weird to people who don't like coffee because it's such a bitter taste.
It's lovely. I love the taste of coffee.
I know, man. So that's so I allow myself that coffee kind of thing because I think, look, I could be addicted to so much and it's just coffee, like it's okay. But with the sleeping tablets, I don't get addicted to them. The reason being is because the tablets that I take, first of all, you should take 2 and I only take 1.
Okay.
And I also only take them when traveling, and even then I only will take them, for example, on the plane. And I don't travel 3 times a month. If I travel 3 times a month, I would definitely not allow myself to take any sleeping tablets unless I'd have to set myself a rule that's like if it's a flight over 7 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
But because I travel so rarely, maybe 2 or 3 times a year rather than 2 or 3 times a month, I allow myself to knock out on the plane, and that just like kind of does it for me. Now, what I will do is my rule is, even though it costs me more money, I generally buy sleeping tablets at the airport, so I don't have them with me beforehand. And it sounds so crazy, I'm not adult enough to be able to control myself, but I'm just aware of my. So I'll buy them at the airport, even though it costs me more money. I'll use them for my trip, like for example on the plane journey, then plane journey back if I need to, if I feel like I need to. And then when I come back, I have a whole packet of sleeping tablets and I throw them in the bin when I get home. And I don't allow myself to keep them. Generally, I don't allow myself to keep them. I say generally because I think that the last time I didn't throw them away, not because I didn't want to. I think I just kind of forgot to. And therefore, but that's what I do. So they're like my rules with it. Like I'll throw it away and stuff like that. So I find it okay because I police myself with it very strictly. I also am aware that people around me kind of know and that kind of stuff. I'm like an open book, and so I will use it for those very rare occasions, like I said. So if I'm traveling to, like, there's been a few times where the trip to Dubai is 8 hours, right? If I jump on the plane and it's a time where there's no prayers in between or something, I try to book my flight around that time as well. So I try and book my flights ideally if, for example, I know that as soon as I get on the plane, it'll be around Maghrib time, and I'll get there for like, or it'll be Isha time, and I can kind of combine, and I'll get there for like Fajr, so I can have a good 6 hours sleep. I'll probably sometimes just take 1, not 2 of the tablets, and I literally go sleep on the plane and I'll wake up in Dubai.
Yeah.
I find that a lot better.
I'd love for that to happen. It's just that as, I think for me, like, I know I can get addicted to things quickly.
Yeah, me and you seem very similar.
Yeah, this is the thing, man.
Especially
it's just like,
if you travel 3 times a month, bro. That's I can't.
Because then it's just like, because then once you're kind of used to it, then like your
it.
body, I find with these things, your body kind of like expects it, and that's the last thing I want to do is like be addicted to like pills. Like,
it's a downward spiral.
Yeah, it is. And you know, like I hear all these stories about people who do get addicted, and it's like, look, I really don't want to go down that route. So that's the reason why I don't. But I mean, I totally get that. You know how you only buy it at the airport and you throw that away. It's not about being a child, but it's just like, you know, if you're having a bad night, for example, right, and you're thinking, you know, I can't go to sleep, and then it's just like you do that, and you're just like, oh yeah, I've got some from, you know, check my bag, I've got some.
Yeah.
You had them that day, then it happens again, and then it's
100%.
And this is the thing, like these things don't happen over one night. They happen very gradually, and you preventing that from happening is good. But like, as you know, like as you were saying, like traveling, you know, 2 maybe sometimes three times a month, right? If you're doing that constantly, then that is, I think that could very quickly become a habit, and that's something I don't want to do.
Yeah, well, we had Jibril on the podcast last week or this week, and he was talking about understanding yourself as a person and knowing your pros and cons and being able to accept them. And I think that's so important, because for yourself, you should know yourself. You should understand what are the he kind of was saying, what are the talents that Allah has given me, because I believe that everyone has
exactly
a natural talent, and let me try and build on it. And what are the things that and it's about being honest with yourself. I think the more you can understand yourself, the more you can use that to your advantage, and also, like I said, police yourself on the things that you feel like you need policing on. And it's more so about being mature and understanding, okay, this is a no-go area for me, or this is, and because here's the thing, if you don't love yourself and you don't look after yourself, what makes you think that somebody else is going to love you or look after you more than you would to yourself?
Yes, exactly.
And
I totally agree. And I think your point you mentioned there is really important, that everybody's different, right? You know, we were saying we're alike in certain areas, but there's obviously going to be lots of differences as well. And you know, it's easy to judge somebody, and this is something that I used to do a lot when I was growing up and immature, right? It's like, oh yeah, like if I can do it, then why can't somebody else, right? But then you have to understand that there's, you know, 7 billion people in this world, right? Lots of different personalities, lots of different cultures, lots of different, you know, people experiences that make you who you are, right? Okay, not everyone has had the same journey you've had, right? So not everybody has the same interests and skills that you have as well. So like, you know, for instance, I'm somebody who's creative, right? So, you know, if you put me in a situation, I'll come up with different ideas and things like that. Some people are not, right? Whereas I'm really bad at, you know, things like writing, for example. Writing is not a skill set of mine, right? Whereas somebody else is going to be really good writing creatively, which I'm not. Whereas when it comes to visually creative, that's what I am. But then it makes you realize that, you know, the point that you said that Allah has given everybody different talents, and that's the way the world works. Because if everybody was the same, then it just wouldn't click. Like, you know, like right now, I absolutely hate accounts, right? Okay, it just like I absolutely hate it with a passion, right? So my brother, he's really good with numbers and things, so he kind of like looks after a lot of that for me, right? And if it wasn't for him, like I'd be like super stressed out. But he kind of really enjoys numbers and like, you know, when things add up and like things, but that's his sort of skill set. That's not my skill set, right? Whereas when it comes to creatively, like, you know, I have another cousin of mine who's very technical, so like, you know, he could you know, set something up like a server for you, right, really easily, which is really complicated for me. But you give him a camera, right? Okay, and half the frame will be the ceiling. You know what I mean? And you get people like that. But again, everybody's different. And I think it's so important to realize that and also appreciate that it's not a negative, it's a positive. people are different, and you need to kind of understand that and also accept that in life generally. So yeah.
Saf, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on, bro. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Adam.
much for coming down. We met a few months ago, and I think as a passing comment, I mentioned that, you know, I'd love to have you down on the podcast, and you, you know, tentatively agreed. And it's never something that I held you down to, and it wasn't like you made a promise, but you put it upon yourself to make sure that you fulfill that, and that goes such a long way, man. I really respect that. And for someone who has kind of the outreach that you have, to come and spend time with us, and not only spend time with us, but tell me, look, bro, I'm here for however long you need. It goes a long way, man, and I really respect it. And I really
Thank you for having me, man. As I said, like, you know, I'm trying to take a new approach in life, that if I do say something to somebody, like, you know, even if it's tentatively, try to make an active effort. And I think that's important, like, you know, to keep connections. Like, you know, we met at Hamza's event, again with Hamza as well. Like, we met a couple of times, and I'm like, you know, he's a really good brother, and regardless of any business or anything that we may or may not do, regardless of that, it's about keeping those connections, and, you know, and like keeping those ties between like friends, brothers. And that's why I was like, you know what, like I did say that to you. So to me, that was like, okay, I'm going to action that whenever I can. And,
Appreciate
you
that,
know,
bro.
I had some time today. So thank you for having me, man.
No
It's
worries.
been really good to come over and chat, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Take care. Hopefully you're invited back whenever you
Of course, man. Inshallah, I'll come down. You're going to come down to Leicester as well sometime.
Yes, I will do,
Yeah,
inshallah.
definitely.
Okay, bro.
All right.